9 years ago, I beat the out my husband, and he called the cops on me. I was 20 weeks pregnant. I said, you know what? You. This ain't even your baby. He immediately goes, you think I give a I started wailing on him. I'm talking about I beat the out of him. I still to this day bug him about the fact that he called the cops on me. He was a for that. Like a Todd, if you will.
What happens when diehard feminists publish research about men's experience as victims of domestic violence? You're about to find out. Here's a look at the authors of this research that I'm about to break down. We've got Nicole Westmoreland. Here's a look at her citations, number of citations that her publications have received over the last several years. And she publishes stuff along the lines of, I just wanted him to hear me, sexual violence, and the possibilities of restorative justice. And here is a little bit about her biography. She's involved in 30 research and consultancy projects in the field of male violence against women. Keep that in mind. We can see a little bit about her right here as well. And our second author is Dr. Stephen Burrell. As we can see, Stephen is doing work that makes connections between men's violence and the climate crisis, because of course. And we can see that a lot of his work is along the lines similar to Nicole, with gender-based violence, primary prevention, feminism, and pro-feminism. So that's a look at who we're dealing with. In this video, I'm going to break down the data that they collected, what results they reported, and how they propose helping male victims, as well as what they leave completely unaddressed. The most interesting and maddening thing to me wasn't their results. It's what they chose to do with those findings. Today's research review is a 2025 article with a title that sounds promising on the surface. I'm a red-blooded male, understanding men's experiences of domestic abuse through a feminist lens. It's based on the experiences of 344 men who contacted the UK's men's advice line. Now, this is a British study, so I'm not using it to make any statistical claims about how common this is in the US, or to say that any American institutions operate exactly like British ones. Our focus will simply be on how feminists approach men's experiences of abuse from women. So here's what they did. They analyzed contacts that were made by men to the men's advice line during a 4-month period in 2020. Their sample, as I mentioned, included 344 contacts that the men made, 221 of which were done by phone and 113 by email. Now, these men in the study had already reached to the point of contacting a male victim hotline. So their experiences are not hypothetical examples or guys who are concerned that something might happen. These are men contacting a service because something had already happened. In the cases where the perpetrator's sex was recorded, 90% involved a female perpetrator. They then looked at the accounts that these men stated and coded them through what they called the man box. Yeah, I told you this was going to get good. As feminists are keen to do, the man box is a framework built around the idea that men are expected to be self-sufficient, tough, attractive, successful, heterosexual, and always ready for sex. Oh, and all of the other so-called toxic stuff as well. So from the very beginning, they're asking, how do women use masculine expectations against men? And that drives their argument toward a very, very predictable conclusion. In their article, they provide examples that should be familiar with a lot of guys, even if they have never called them abuse. Some guys described these experiences that I'll put up on the screen so I don't get any more shadow banned than I already am for saying them out loud. And several described the trap. They didn't want to return the favor of sorts, but they were also mocked for being afraid, for walking away, or for not being able to handle her. One man described a partner who controlled all of his money, held his bank cards, and kept his banking app passwords. Others described being ridiculed for weight gain, hair loss, low income, not being man enough, or not being sexually available on demand. And there's a bunch more, but you get it. So we would expect that they're trying to help these men, right? These researchers. Their own findings indicate very clearly that men could use some support. A man can be a victim even if he's bigger than the woman, right? Shocker, I know. And even when the acts are insults, humiliation, threats, financial control, sexual pressure, and fear, those are all abuse. And the authors also make it very clear why men don't speak up. Most of these men didn't want to call themselves or refer to themselves as victims. Some were embarrassed. Some expected the police to laugh at them. Those are real barriers. And we would hope that the next question would be, what do we do about it? How do we fix it? But this is where it really goes off the rails. Rather than saying women's acts against men reveal a serious blind spot in DV theory and policy,
I beat the out my husband. I started wailing on him. I'm talking about I beat the out of him. He was a for that. Like a Todd, if you will.
They have the audacity to make their main argument that women's acts against men proves the effects of patriarchy and the need for feminist theory. Their contention is that women who do those things to men are enforcing patriarchal expectations about masculinity. They say that women's acts, and I'm quoting here, produce patriarchal norms, and that women's acts toward men are, again I'm quoting, strongly rooted in patriarchal norms surrounding relationships. Now I have a suggestion. How about we call it what it is? Women beating the shit out of their men because feminism allows them to get away with it. How's that for feminist theory for both of you, Nicole, Stephen? They're over here validating men's accounts, telling us what men experience, and then trying to explain those experiences as another consequence of patriarchy, rather than treating women's acts toward men as its own behavior, policy, and service problem. But there is a much more practical use for the evidence that they collected. It could have been turned into a recognition guide or a policy resource to help men. They have the evidence for all of that. But nothing they did was designed to help men recognize or understand what's happening to them. It also gives nothing about men's steps in what to do. Nothing about documenting incidents, saving messages and pictures or photographs. Nothing about making a safety plan. Nothing. Zip. Zilch. What they do say is that training for people who support men should address masculine norms and the shame that men feel when they ask for help. They also say that the findings have implications for how services are designed and promoted. But do they have any suggestions, or do they advocate for men at all? I'll let you answer that rhetorical question yourself. Yes, staff who work with men should understand why men minimize their own experiences when they call, or when they're even reluctant to call authorities at all. No shit, right? But that's nowhere near laying out a serious male support reform agenda. They don't argue for men's shelters. Nothing about dedicated male advocacy. Those are some very serious issues. Those policies, they could be the difference between determining whether a man is actually believed when he does make a call, whether he has a safe place to go, or even if he gets access to his children, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Honestly, the importance of this article lies in the fact that it accidentally exposes the exact problems that men face. It documents a wide range of very serious acts by women against men. It documents men's real reported instances to a helpline. But then instead of acknowledging and responding to women's behaviors, it redirects the conversation back into a theory that has already centered patriarchy as the problem. And that's the real takeaway for me. Men need to know what abuse looks like. They need services that help them. They need systems that don't blame the patriarchy when they get a lamp thrown at them. And they need real researchers who are willing to be straightforward by admitting that women do these things to men because junk research like this lets them women off the hook. There's no accountability, just the patriarchy's fault that men experience abuse. And this one got me all worked up, as you can see. But give us your thoughts. Be careful out there. Don't forget that this article's link is in the description, and I'll see y'all soon.